Car Obsession is proudly supported by Carly and Draggy. Check out the video description to find out the latest discount codes.
Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and welcome to another walk around. If you are new to my channel, firstly, thank you for joining me. My name is Aaron, and secondly, my walk around videos are pretty much a static review of the car. Therefore, if you're looking for driving content that won't come in this video, but will come in future videos. So be sure to like, comment and subscribe. Anyway, enough of that. This week I'm joined by the new MG HS PHEV. I know, it sounds like a photocopier, but that aside, let's move away from that and move on to the car. So this is the first ever plug-in hybrid that MG has produced, so it is quite an important car for the firm. Now, this oozes value for money. Now, if you go for the plug-in hybrid like I have here, the starting price is £31,095. That will get you the Excite trim level. However, I have the exclusive trim level, which is the range topping version. So this is about £2,500 more. In fact, I think it is £2,500 more. I will go around the features in a few moments, but to really compound the value for money this car offers, for comparison, an entry-level Ford Kuga PHEV will be about £7,000 more. And in today's world, £7,000 is a lot of money. So yes, this car represents fantastic value for money. In fact, you may want to start a drinking game to see how many times I say value for money in this video, because I think by the end of it you will be quite tipsy. Anyway, now if you don't want the plug-in hybrid version of this car, if you just want the standard 1.5 litre turbo, you can get that for around £23,000, and for a practical, spacious family SUV that offers plenty of kit, I think that's fantastic value for money. There we go, have another drink on me. So in regard to the design, it isn't an ugly car per se, far from it. This is finished in the optional dynamic red paintwork, which is £695 if I'm not mistaken. It isn't an ugly car. You have 18-inch alloys as standard, whether you go for the Excite or the exclusive. There's only two trim levels available for this car to keep things nice and simple. But I would say the overall design is somewhat generic, and I've said this about MGs before. It's almost as if the design team have been asked to design an SUV, and this is what they've come up with. It's not a bad end product, but at the same time, I don't know, maybe it lacks a bit of creativity. Am I being harsh? Quite possibly. Design is and always will be subjective. So let's move things on. I will say though, the front grille, that reminds me of very much, is it Mercedes? That I'm sure I've seen a similar design on another car. The headlights kind of remind me of a Mazda. Yeah, like I say, it's like MG have seen other car manufacturers and gone, oh, we like that, we'll do something similar. But anyway, that aside, as mentioned, I have the exclusive version. So as standard, you get LED lights. You also get sequential indicators. I've got 18-inch alloys, which I've mentioned. Keyless entry, roof rails, panoramic roof, or as the MG call it, the sky roof. If I take you to the rear, you will see you've got rear parking sensors, and you've also got a double exhaust, quite sporty. And you've also got a power tailgate, although to my knowledge, it wasn't closed properly for some reason. Strange. To my knowledge, it isn't hands-free, which may be a little bit of an annoyance, because let's say you've done your shopping, it's raining, the kids are shouting at you, they're acting up, and your hands are full. The last thing you want to do is be faffing around trying to find the switch when it's dark and rainy. But that aside, once you do open the boot, you get 448 litres. Now, you can't really see that because, as always, the boot is filled with my filming crap, but I will cut to a clip where you can get a better view of the boot. Now, this isn't exactly the largest boot you can get in an SUV, but for a plug-in hybrid, I think it is pretty respectable. There's very little in the way of load lip, so loading bigger, heavier items or perhaps dogs should be pretty easy. Now, if you want more space in this car, you can, of course, fold down the 60/40 rear seats to give you 1,375 litres. As much as it is handy having a power tailgate, I would say for my height, I'm 6'2", I would like the tailgate to open a little bit higher. Now, I've been very lucky this week. I haven't smacked my head on it, but I have come very close, and that would be quite annoying. So if you are a taller person than me, bear that in mind. The other weird thing is I find that it's quite inconsistent with how high it opens. Sometimes it will open this high, other times it has opened a bit higher, reducing my risk of me smacking my head. So that is quite strange. I've also found that sometimes when you push the button for the tailgate to go down, sometimes it will just stop halfway for no reason, as if there's an obstacle. That time, obviously, it didn't, but yeah, worth bearing in mind. One thing I haven't mentioned is you get a 7-year warranty as standard, even on the base model. Very, very impressive. Now let me take you inside the car. The inside, I have to say, MG has made a proper effort, and it is a pleasant place to be. Don't get me wrong, some of the fixings do feel a little bit cheap, but this is a cheap car that offers value for money. There we go, have another drink on me. Let me slip my way into the car. I've just knocked my clip-on microphone, apologies. Oh, it's still nice and warm in here. So you've got nice, pleasing materials used, nice red stitching. You've got a sporty steering wheel with more red stitching and a flat bottom. Actually, I'm gonna I can show you the seat on this side. You've got these very fetching front sport seats, which are finished in leather. It may be fake leather, but it's still nice all the same. With a bit of, look at that, Alcantara. Very nice, and they look fantastic. Better still, they're comfortable and supportive. So yes, MG, thumbs up from me. As standard, they are also heated, even on the base model, the Excite, and on the exclusive, both the driver's seat and the front passenger seat are electronically adjustable. The driver's seat also gets a lumbar support, but if you go for the base model Excite, the front passenger seat isn't electronically adjustable, so bear that in mind. Let me fire up the ignition. So even on the base model, you get the 10.1 inch touchscreen with navigation, DAB radio, and of course smartphone connectivity. And you also get a 12-inch digital display. Now I'm really impressed by this because I thought this was going to be some knockoff, some kind of thing that you would expect to order from Wish. But you know what? This is the real McCoy. Now, of course, it's no Audi virtual cockpit. I will concede that. Having said that, I think MG has done a good job with this. So yes, another thumbs up from me, MG. That is good. Let me toggle through the displays so you can get an idea of how it looks. The reason why that's red is because I have been sat here with the ignition on and not the engine on, so it has depleted the battery a bit. Got tyre pressure monitoring. Oh, that brings me on to the MPG. So on a combined run, with this being a hybrid, MG states you can get 155 MPG. Very impressive. Now, I will concede that for this week, I haven't charged the battery because I've not been in a position to do so. Therefore, for the whole week I've had this car, I've been running it on petrol. And as you can imagine, that has had an effect on the MPG. So for the whole week I've had it, as you can see, so far I've covered 67.4 miles. Well, I say for the whole week, I've still got a bit of driving to do. And I've achieved 28.4 MPG, which is far from impressive. Having said that, okay, it's reset. That's annoying. On my drive up here, I think I got somewhere between 33 and 35 MPG. I know it's still not exactly stellar fuel economy, but it's better than high 20s, isn't it? Other features, I need to actually turn the engine on to show you this. I've got a 360-degree camera with a decent enough clarity, not the best, but it's good enough. And you've got a reversing camera as well, and rear parking sensors. Very, very handy. This car is an absolute doddle to park. So if you want a kind of mid-size SUV, but you're not the most confident of parkers, then MG has got your back, and that comes as standard. So very, very handy. I think that might come as standard on the Excite as well. So yeah, it is very impressive when it comes to features. As I mentioned, I've got, I think I may have mentioned, I've got heated front seats, so it's there. So you've got drivers and passengers. Annoyingly, it is inbuilt to the touchscreen. I would prefer to have physical buttons, but it is what it is. I've also got dual zone climate control, which again is within the touchscreen. The screen itself, it's got a nice vivid display, but it is a little bit laggy. So there is a good chance you will want to bypass it with either Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. You've got these shortcut buttons down here which aren't touch sensitive. I thought they were to begin with, but you've got little rocker switches. So that's your volume, that takes you to your home. Well, let's turn that down actually because that's the radio. That takes you to your climate control. That's obviously heated rear screen and heated front screen. All quite self-explanatory. Let's turn that off. I've also got MG Pilot, so I've got features such as lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring. I don't think this has rear cross traffic alert, but I will correct myself with a subtitle. I may have already mentioned it, but you've got autonomous emergency braking. I believe this also has adaptive cruise control, so this has got a good amount of safety systems. Let me just pop the car into park. I've already done that. Down here you've got a plethora of buttons, so that's your EV. You can, when the battery is charged, which is a 16.6 kilowatt hour battery, which will take 4.5 hours to charge using a 7 kilowatt charger, you can drive this car on EV only for up to 32 miles. So if you do short commutes to and from work, that will be very, very handy. You've got the 360 camera there, the button for it, and you've got a few bits you can play about with. So you can see how close you are to the curb. Very handy for parking. I love that. You get that one there. It's quite snazzy. You can have a wide view for the front camera and also for the rear camera. You've got rear parking sensors as well. And look at that. You've got all these different angles. Oh, look at that. Oh, so you can really go all the way around the car. That's properly impressive. I like that. Very, very cool. This car is front wheel drive, but you do get hill descent control, which I would argue you will probably never need in this car, but perhaps you live in a rural area, you're driving in muddy or snowy conditions and you're going down here hill, that may be handy. You've got auto hold, which I like, as a feature I use often, and the parking brake, and of course the hazard button. Behind this little cubby here, lift it up. It looks quite nice, don't get me wrong, it does feel a little bit cheap, but this is a cheap car. You've got two USB ports and a 12-volt socket just in there. Pop that away like so. Two cup holders in the middle. However, if you're not using this area, then in fact you can do this. Slide this across, which actually feels rather substantial, and it makes the inside look a little bit cleaner, a little bit tidier. But yes, like I say, you've got two cup holders like so. The door bin is of a good size. You can, I'm running out of battery on my camera. Be right back. Batteries, the bane of my life. Anyway, where was I? Yes, the door bins are of a good size. This bottle is 1 litre. 1 litre? I don't know why I'm saying plural. But you do have space left over. I will shut the door because it's telling me, please take your key. I'm not going anywhere, calm down. In the middle, you have a centre armrest, which is adjustable like so, which is a pleasant surprise. Lift it up and you've got a bit of storage in there. So I've got my thick woolly hat, one of my camera lenses, a charging cable and a lens filter. That's pretty good. And the glove box is of a decent size. As you can see, I've got 1 or 2 snacks in there, as well as a GoPro. So yep, glove box isn't too bad. One thing I almost forgot is you do have a very little cubby hole to the right hand side of the steering wheel. So you can keep 1 or 2 smaller items in there. Some chewing gum, perhaps some travel mints, that kind of thing. And that's your lot. So practicality in the front is pretty good. Getting a good comfortable driving setup is easy. The steering wheel adjusts for rake and reach like so, which again is a pleasant surprise. Because this car is quite cheap, I thought that the steering wheel would only go up and down as opposed to being telescopic as well. So yes, impressive. Well done, MG. The driver's seat, as I've mentioned, is electronically adjustable, but you don't get a memory function. So if this is a car to be shared between you and your spouse, and you have different heights or different driving setups, that may be a little bit of a frustration. So bear that in mind. Let me step into... Yes, I will take my key. Be quiet. Let me step into the back so I can show you rear space. As I mentioned earlier, I'm 6'2", The driver's seat has been set for me, of course, but even so, as you can see, I've got plenty of space in which to step into, which I will do. I just need to pull up my jeans, they're starting to fall down. I'm sure you don't want to see my bum. Right. So yes, look at that. Plenty of knee room, and the back of the seat has been designed with a recess to give you extra room for your knees. Very clever, good thinking, MG. But yeah, loads of knee room. If I bring you down here, I can show you the leg room. Yeah, I've got plenty of it, and even better, I can fit my feet underneath the seat in front of me, so I can really stretch out and relax. This car does have a panoramic roof, or a sky roof, as MG calls it, and quite often these roofs cut into headroom, meaning taller people in the back have to pay the consequence, but not in the HS PHEV. No, look at this. I've got a good amount of headroom, so if you're taller than me, fear not, the back of the MG HS PHEV, such a long name, will be a decent place for you. Now, could you fit 3 adults in here? Possibly, but it would be a bit of a squeeze. If you do have to have someone sat in the middle, you'll be pleased to know, well, they'll be pleased to know that the hump in the middle is quite minimal. So, yeah, they will have a bit of space in which to put their feet. In regard to practicality, the door bins are of a decent size. I've got my bottle here, which is strangely 420 millilitres. What a weird amount, but never mind. And I've got a little bit of space left over. I've got map pockets, which these kind of remind me of what you get on airplanes, so a little bit unusual. I haven't seen a map pocket like this before on a car, so a little bit unusual. You've got ventilation for those in the rear, 2 USB ports, very handy. There we go, sort out your hand-eye coordination, Aaron. And in the middle, you have an armrest for better comfort. And you've got 2 storage areas. So you have this one here, which is lined with fabric. A nice touch, well done, MG. And you have 2 cup holders in here, which opens in a mix of a dramatic and also slow fashion. It's like something out of the Q division from James Bond. Look at this. A little bit seductive in how it opens. It's the tease. It's like a burlesque girl slowly taking off an item of clothing. Ooh. I think that's just me, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so you've got the 2 cup holders in there. I do wish it would open a bit faster though, because it is quite slow, isn't it? But never mind. It's a good feature to have. Now, annoyingly, you haven't got a feed through hatch, so if you wanted to load longer items such as skis, or perhaps you've been to B&Q and you've got some wood, then you can't feed it through. So yeah, that may be a downside to some of you watching. One thing I haven't mentioned, when you fold down the rear seats, they don't fold completely flat, but they are quite flat. Right, let's move on to the powertrain. This is, of course, a hybrid. So I will talk through the stats and figures. So you need to open the bonnet. The bonnet releases down here, and that opens up the fuel flap as well. Just quickly on that one, actually, the charging port is on the driver's side, just there on the off side, and the filler flap for the petrol is on the near side. That isn't pressed because you've got the little button in there that activates the solenoid, which opens it. Anyway, on to the engine. So it is a 1.5 litre turbocharged 4-cylinder, which is mated to a 90 kilowatt electric motor. Combined, they produce almost 260 horsepower, along with 375 newton meters of torque, which is pretty punchy for a sensible, practical family SUV. Now, I know 0 to 60 isn't really going to be that important for you, but I do want to mention it because it is very, very respectable. This will hit 60 miles per hour in just 6.9 seconds. That's kind of hot hatch territory. Okay, not something like an i30M, but I mean like a smaller hot hatch. So there is quite impressive. The top speed, if you're really wondering, is 118 miles per hour. Now, I mentioned earlier about the fuel economy. On a combined run using the hybrid powertrain, you can get up to 155 mpg. That sounds meaty. What's that? Oh, it's just an old Mazda. That's disappointing. But of course, in the real world, if you're relying more on the petrol engine, then the MPG will drop. In regard to CO2 emissions, this emits as little as 43 grams per kilometre, but of course if you drive it on EV only, then it's 0 grams per kilometre, it's zero emissions of course. If you're thinking about having this as a company car, the benefit in kind rating is 12%. For VED, the first year you pay nothing, then each year after that you pay £155. If you're thinking about buying this car on finance, as a representative example on MG's website, you'll be paying £349 per month on a 4-year PCP if you put down a deposit of around £6,800, APR 7.9, and that is with a dealer contribution of £1,250. How I remembered all of that, I don't know, but I'm very impressed with myself. So yes, if you're thinking about getting this on finance, this should be affordable. Well, even if you're a cash buyer, this car is affordable. As I mentioned earlier, the cheapest Ford Kuga will cost you around £7,000 more, and that is a fair chunk of cash. Let me close down the bonnet. Like so. Quite handy that it's on struts, so you don't have to faff about with a bonnet support. Another pleasant surprise. I think that's how I would sum up this car. It is a car of pleasant surprises. Now, the driving characteristics aren't that great, and that will of course come in the main review, but from a practical value for money, there we go, value for money again. From a value for money perspective, it's really hard to argue with this car. Well, you can't argue with the car, it won't talk back. But you know what I mean, you can't quibble with the value this car gives you, because it is very, very impressive. And of course, as I mentioned, you get the 7-year warranty. So that is also very, very good. Anyway, I think my time is up. I do hope you have enjoyed this video or found it useful. If you have any questions about this car, be sure to get in touch. Leave a question in the comment section below and I will answer you as quickly as I can and to the best of my ability. There will of course be a main review coming. I may do a review on the infotainment system as well as a point of view review as well. But anyway, until then, yes, if you have enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click the bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.